The measuring stick just changed around here, buddy. You're looking at it.
You are now listening to the Outsiders Podcast, the most exciting and hard-hitting show on the net. And now, bringing it hard as always on the Kansas City Chiefs and the NFL, here are your hosts, Clint Schweitzer and Noah Groniger.
All right, guys, right here on the Outsiders Podcast, Clint Schweitzer, Noah Groniger, as always, and we're getting ready to bring on Marvin Jones. You guys remember him. He played his entire career with the New York Jets, 93 to 03, and before that, Florida State Seminole. So a lot of good stuff coming up from Marvin. I can't wait to get his thoughts on his career as a Jet. I mean, that's very rare someone plays their whole career in one locale.
Yeah, it's very rare nowadays with the free agency. We're going to talk to him about the game. I'm not sure how he's going to take this. The 94 spike game with Dan Marino faking the spike, scoring the touchdown at the end of the game to beat the Jets. But then he played in another game that has a name, Monday Night Miracle, with Jumbo Elliott catching the touchdown at the end of the game. They're down 30-7 in the fourth quarter, and then they come back and win 40-37 in overtime. You know,
Marvin was a top 5. He was the number 4 pick overall, by the New York Jets in 1993. So, this is a guy who came into the league with a lot of promise, played, a decade, and really, had a lot of accolades and played in playoff games, played for big-time head coaches, played with big-time players.
Sporting News College Player of the Year in 1992.
Yeah, great stuff. So I think Marvin's on the line. We're going to go ahead and bring him on. All right, and on the Outsiders Podcast, we are absolutely pleased right now to bring Marvin Jones onto the show. Of course, you guys remember Marvin, 10 years with the New York Jets, and of course was a Florida State Seminole before that. Linebacker from the Jets, Marvin Jones. Marvin, welcome to the show. How are you doing, my man? Oh, man, it's good to talk some football here in the month of June. Good to hear from you. As the time gets closer, as the temperature gets hotter, we start talking about football, and I know that makes you happy.
Yeah, it's always great to find things you can, take your mind off of other things. Football is just an awesome thing, obviously.
Absolutely.
It's part of my life, so, it gives me an opportunity to, kind of get away and relax and get away from all the nonsense.
I wanted to go into your career at Florida State, and your last year there, you were honored by Sporting News as the College Football Player of the Year. Just, can you go through that and maybe getting the call or finding out and what your reactions were?
Well, I mean, it was definitely awesome. Playing on Florida State and all the great teams that we put together. I mean, obviously, it was something that, I earned, but something that definitely I had a lot of teammates, great teammates that, helped me achieve those, those feats. And, it was just an awesome thing playing during that particular time for Florida State. And, just the publicity, just the team and what we had accomplished. I mean, every year compete for the national championship. Never won one, of course, otherwise, during the time I was there. But, it was just an awesome thing that, just be able to, the competition level at that time. I mean, so it just really, transferred into something that was just, awesome and something that I could not obviously, imagine that would have happened. I mean, I knew I was good, but I didn't know I was really that damn good.
Well, of course, 1992, Florida State in the midst of another wonderful run, under Bobby Bowden. Only loss was to rival Miami. Talk about that. I know you were part of a couple of those games that went the wrong way due to, missed kicks at the end of the game. But 92, 1916, talk about that, being your only loss, in the Orange Bowl to rival Miami.
Well, one of the hardest things at that time was playing against Miami. I mean, the talent level they had was just astronomical. I had a 3-year career at Florida State. Obviously, I left after my junior season. But, what that game meant every year was, it was pretty much a potential national championship that was on the line every year. And, I happened to, unfortunately, go 0-3 against them, never beat them. And to this day, I still don't like them. But, it just, during that, I think I believe the last season, I think, is when they started getting into that wild right and things like that. But, at this time, I never blamed the kids. I just felt like we know that's their job because kickers are, they're not part of the team, really. So, but we should have went out and we were good enough team to go out and beat them by more than 3 points. But for some reason it just was, that type of game. I mean, that caliber of talent that laid on both sides, and it was just awesome. To look at all the guys that out there in that field. I mean, you would never find another Philly of guys that played during that time. I mean, on both sides of talent, that was just astronomical.
Did you struggle at all with your decision to leave Florida State to forgo your senior season and enter the NFL draft? Obviously, it turned out to be a good decision. You were the 4th pick overall, but did you have any struggles in deciding to do that?
Well, I mean, when you come from a family of 7 brothers and sisters in about 1,100 square foot house, it's a pretty damn easy decision.
Sure. Sure.
Well, the thing was, it's what else was there? It got to the point where what you do is you look at your checklist, and you go, what is there else for me to accomplish? I mean, especially if you look at it from the athletic side. I mean, you come in as a freshman. I come in as a freshman. I start. I mean, I make an All-American team. I'm an All-American my second year. I'm the second. I'm the first sophomore in the history of the Lombardi Award to make it to the Final Four as a finalist. The third year you go back, you win that award, you win the Buckets Award, you win the Lombardi Award, like you said, you spoiled the Defensive Player of the Year. What else is there left for you to do in college? I mean, it's up to, obviously it's a decision of education. It's a decision of, we're at a point where we could win a national championship, which is obviously not guaranteed. But then you had a third player that works against you, the fact that, injuries. So,
Sure.
I mean, you can always kind of go to school, to, after you're done, I still, was able to go to school and do those kind of things. But you never get the opportunity if you go out and get an injury, and hurt yourself. I mean, how do you, overcome that at that particular time? How do you overcome something like that? The decision was made that, to me, it wasn't worth that risk for myself. So that kind of helped make a decision,
Absolutely. You wind up, of course, going 4th overall to the New York Jets. Talk about your draft day experience and what that was like for you. I assume you were probably in New York City. You get drafted by the hometown Jets. What was that like, and how did you feel about that?
Well, it definitely wasn't anything like Gino's Smith experience.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things is, if you go back to those years, I mean, you had, your potential, 5, top teams in drafting at that time. I mean, you had New England, you had your Seattle, you had the Jets, you had the Cardinals, and I don't even know who the other team would have been, but I can assume it probably was the Browns.
I believe it was.
So, I wasn't. But if you go back to that time, I mean, New England, the Jets, New England, Seattle, all those teams were pretty good teams. They pretty obviously, if you take it in the top 5, you're not that great of a team anyway at the particular season before. But I kind of looked at, I remember being at the combine, and I saw, I met with the Jets, and I'm going, man, shoot, I don't want to fly all the way back and forth. I wouldn't want to live in Seattle. New England obviously was atrocious at the time also. I didn't want to go there. So I kind of told him, I said, listen, told Pete Carroll, Pete Carroll at the time, he was a defensive coordinator of the Jets at the time, and I said, hey, Pete, whatever you do, please show up and seriously, I don't want to go to these other teams. But, during that time, the draft, obviously, it was a huge thing at that time. They held it at the Marriott Marquis in Manhattan, which was, that was an awesome experience being at the draft and going so early. I didn't have to wait so long, so that's one of the great things about it. But, it's a day that I would never, ever forget. When they called my name, I don't remember hearing them call my name. Marvin was being tackled on the floor. either you can go on and play an NFL career or, possibly be flipping some burgers, which isn't bad. It's a respectable job.
Your Jets teammates nicknamed you Shade Tree. How did that come about?
Well, I actually ran out of Florida State, and played with one of my linebacker coaches. Kind of came up with that after. Well, my older brother played at Florida State, and one of the things he's always preaching me was about hard work, being first in line, whatever you do, being first at what you do, and we had to run some gases, and I wanted to be the first, but I didn't realize that you had to run, you had to do 4 times, you had to go over and back 4 times. I thought I was just over and back 2 times, so obviously I was like way ahead of everybody else. I came back and, it was kind of hatchy. We all know yellow business, it's 100 plus degrees or something. It's atrocious, heat. And, I actually made it, and I thought that was it, and I was like, and I came and sat up on the gym, I was worn out. My coach goes, hey, you're not finished. And I go, and he goes, we don't need any shade trees around here. And I looked at him and I go, yeah, but pretty soon we call this place Bargainville. And, that's kind of like how that name kind of came about. I mean, not the fact that, I don't knock people out like a tree branch, so that is a possibility.
You played with a lot of great players. You played with a lot of great players with the Jets. James Hasty, Ronnie Lott, Mo Lewis, Curtis Martin, Boomer Esiason, Wayne Corbett, Art Monk, Rob Moore, just to name a few. Can you just talk about your time with the Jets and the great players you had a chance to be a part of?
Well, I mean, the Jets had a lot of tradition, of history, not just besides losing. But a lot of guys I had opportunity to play with. Like guys at Chanel. Those guys are definitely a big part of the Jets' history. I can remember going in as a freshman, having Boomer Esiason as a quarterback, being able to play with Ronnie Lott, like James Hasty, and actually played, Art Monk and Leonard Marshall. So there's some guys that was, some Hall of Fame guys, and guys that had some Super Bowls, Super Bowl appearances and Super Bowl champs. I had. One of the greatest things I learned in that time is that when you played at that time as a young guy, you had a supporting cast of teammates that were definitely a little bit mature. And, what they taught you more about the game, what you learn more about the game is you learn more about life, making decisions. Because those guys, when you have more of a lot of these guys are a lot more of mentors. There was a big contributor. You got to realize I am a 20-year-old guy. I am a 20-year-old guy when I get drafted by the Jets. Coming in and playing against some of these guys that are 30 years old, that have been around the league, Hall of Fame guys that I looked up to. So, it was an unbelievable thing to be able to, go to the Jets and play with some of the players I played it with, and it's definitely an honor, and to this day, those are the guys that I talk about because those are the guys who taught you the most, and I think a lot, you learn so much more of the game, and I think it's a little more different than guys can learn nowadays because, you don't have that age median anymore. Everybody now is pretty much in the same, kind of like age group. So they don't have that mentor type like we had, and for whatever reason, it doesn't exist. We don't know why, but I just think during that time, you just learn so much more playing with guys that just have so much more experience and taught you not just about the game of football, but the game of learning about the game of life.
Can you go into some of the great coaches you played for? Todd Haley, Herm Edwards, Bill Parcells, Bill Belichick, Romeo Crennel.
They don't know what a damn Super Bowl with me, so how the hell they great? But, I had to, look, I ain't going to a couple of them because I don't care for a couple of them. But, I'm just teasing.
Herm Edwards.
Anyway, one of my best coaches is obviously, that I played for, obviously was Bill Parcells.
Sure.
I would say Bill Parcells was a damn good coach. I had the opportunity to 1 year. I mean, if you look at, I mean, Bill was great because of the sake of just, I mean, the staff and everybody we had. I mean, under that umbrella, you still had Belichick under that umbrella, Charlie Weiss on offense. You know, Al Broyles, linebacker coach, who made, you know, obviously became the head coach in 2000, which he was a damn good coach. Even though he only did it 1 year, but you know, obviously some people can't deal with the egos. You know, being the head coach in the league. But just playing on the him is what, you know, I learned about so much about football. It's just learning the game of football. It's what you learn under Bill Parcells. He taught you how to play the game. He taught you how to manage the game as a player, how to think. You know, it wasn't just about doing your job. It was about, you know, the player, your mentality is more of a coach of learning, okay, situations, you know. So he was awesome, man. I think probably that period of time when I played with him is when I learned the most out of, you know, when I really started learning the game of football, because he just taught you, you know, looking at the whole perspective of the game, not just doing your job. And, out of all the coaches I had, he's probably the best. And, you know, one of my favorite coaches, still coaching, he's the defensive coordinator over at Kansas City Chiefs, Bob Sutton.
Oh,
he came as a rookie, actually. You know, he was in 2000 under Al Groh. He came in as the linebacker coach in 2000. So, you know, I'm glad to see that he's doing well. Bob, if you're listening, you know, when you get your head coaching job, don't forget a boy. Don't forget your boy.
Hey, we got connections. We're here in Kansas City. He's here with us now, so we'll get him on the horn for you.
Yeah, you should get him on. Look, hey, he's awesome. I mean, you know, he was my linebacker coach then. I mean, and he had a damn good group of guys in the room. Myself, Mo Lewis, Wayne Gordon, Roland Pfeiffer, Brian Cox,
Pepper Johnson.
You know, James Farrier. I mean, we had a damn room of linebackers now.
You bet.
So yeah, you should say hi to him, and you know, I mean, at any rate, I mean, he would definitely be a guy that would definitely make an awesome job as a head coach, because Bob knows the freaking game. I mean, you got to realize he came from, I'm thinking it was West Point, West Point, I believe. West Point, one of the Army colleges. I believe it was West Point. Shot for 20 years he was there. So I mean, he knows the game, but man, he's just a great all-around guy, but he's smart, you know, and you know, I like to see something great happen for him on that level.
What was the team's thought, and personally your thought, about Keyshawn Johnson when he came in? Did everyone look at him as a diva, or what was going on there?
No, I mean, he's doing real good. He's chasing Justin Bieber around, so he still has a little bit of speed. One of the things about him was, I mean, he wasn't obviously he was a big guy coming out of college. He had some good speed. No, Keyshawn, I tell you what, people might have this wrong perception about him, but nobody worked as hard as that guy did in practice. And that's one thing I tell you. So if somebody, if there's a guy that I want on my team, that I want to have on my team, it would definitely be Keyshawn Johnson, because he's a guy that he's a big guy, possession guy. He can catch the ball well. He works hard, but the main thing, the guy has a heart that he always wants to win. And if he can go out and help his team win, that's what he wanted to do. And I have no problem with a guy like that wants the ball in his hands on the game is on the line.
Can you go back to...
like some of the other ones that only want the ball when one other guy gets the ball. But we ain't getting to that.
Can you go back to 1994 and the fake spike game against Dan Marino and kind of go through that last play, and if you guys were fooled or not?
I remember that far back. It ruined our season, but I don't remember it. well, one of the big things, during that game, that sucked. Marino was pretty smart, you know. But I mean, it was just pretty much, he thought it was just a regular, spike play, and the guy kind of got one also. I think at that time, we were pretty good at that time. We were sitting in probably at the top of this in the East at that time. One pretty good.
Yeah, I think you guys were 6-5, and the Dolphins were 7-4, and you would have tied for first place if you guys had won that game.
Right. I knew we was somewhere pretty much in the top there, and you know that. I mean, Marino, he's a handsy quarterback. I mean, come on, that's one thing I've always had much respect for him. You know, I have an opportunity to play against him, 2 times a year, and kind of what he brings to the game, and I mean, he just got to play any over us, and for some reason that play was just seemed like it just changed our season. Because like I said, I think we dropped the big 7. Well, yeah, we did. We ended up finishing 6-10 that season. But I mean, you can't put anything past that guy. But man, he was just awesome. If anybody could make something like that happen, it would be him. And the thing that he had the advantage of most people, I think, that he called his own play. So, he got out and surprised. I think it was Ingram that caught that pass, I believe, right?
Yeah, it was Mark Ingram against Aaron Glenn.
Right, yeah. Yeah, we kind of mess with Aaron on that sometime when I see him, but but he can't fault him. I think that was he was a rookie that year also, so he hadn't seen it. I think he Marino probably would have fooled 99% of the guys in the NFL on that one.
Yeah, what about the Monday Night Miracle game when you get some payback there? It's Jay Fiedler instead of Dan Marino, but you guys are down 30-7 in the fourth quarter, and then you win in overtime 40-37.
Well, I mean, you look at where that game was. I mean, it started out disastrous, but one thing about it, I think, that was 2000 under Al, and we were a tough team, man, and that's how Al, Bro coached the team, man. We were tough guys on the team, and guys that had heart, and during that season, I mean, I think we had a bunch of true comebacks that year, but now obviously had a bigger deficit, and that's something that he always preached. He wanted tough guys on the team, and man, the way we went out in that game and the way it finished, it's unbelievable. I think obviously that was, known as probably was the best Monday night game ever. I think it was voted the best Monday night game in history.
Yeah, I think it was.
Sure it was. And you look at the talent wise on the field. I mean, you look at the heart and the plays that many guys never giving up. I mean, to this day, obviously it's still short on TV, but man, to be a part of a game like that and what it meant, and it's great, just listen to all the sideline commentary, especially with Jason Teller was like, so that was one of the funniest things about that game. But man, just to be, because a couple of years ago I think we had the 10th year anniversary of it, which we got on at halftime during one of the Jets games, and man, it was just unbelievable. Man, every time I watch that game, it's not like you don't know what's going to happen, but the way it's just all the plays that were made to get back into that game and to come back and win that game. If you look at how far we were down, there's pretty much no way conceivably time-wise that we could make a comeback like that. And man, all the guys stepped up, and when that team never gave up, we had heart, and we just felt like we were going to come back and win that game.
Well, I'll tell you what, Marvin, it's just been wonderful catching up with you. Great stroll, down memory lane. And I'll tell you what, we got to get into a lot of good stuff from your career, and we want to follow up with you, maybe get you on right around the time the season's about to start, and we'll talk about some current football situations. But Marvin, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it, man.
All right, thank you for having me on, guys.
All right, take care, Marvin.
Thanks a lot, Marvin. Great insight from him. Always love catching up with these guys. These guys played in the NFL. We love catching up with them, delivering their stories to you guys.
Talking about number 3 versus number 2 when he was in college, Florida State versus Miami, how they missed the field goals, but both teams were just loaded. The rosters were loaded with NFL caliber players, and the better team just won that day. You can't always count on a kicker. They're not really part of the team.
Yeah, according to Marvin, absolutely, and I tend to agree. So we thank Marvin for coming on and joining us. Hope you guys enjoyed.